17-year-old Maya pressed her back against the brick wall of a closed pawnshop on West Division Street, clutching a plastic grocery bag that held everything she owned in this world. The wind off Lake Michigan cut through her threadbare jacket like it had a personal grudge. December in the city wasn't kind to anyone, but it was particularly cruel to girls like her, the ones who slipped through every crack in the system until they disappeared entirely. Her mother had been dead for 6 days. 6 days since the pneumonia one. 6 days since Maya held her hand in that county hospital room, listening to machines beep their final warnings. 6 days since her mother's last words changed everything. Asterisk find Cole Brennan. Show him the bracelet. He'll know. Asterisk. Maya didn't understand. Her mother had been a waitress at a diner in Pilsen, working doubles to keep them in a studio apartment that smelled like mildew and broken promises. There was no reason someone like her would know someone like Cole Brennan, a name Maya had heard whispered in the streets the way people whisper about hurricanes and house fires. Things that destroy everything they touch. But dying people don't lie about things like this. The bracelet was simple, silver, tarnished with age, with a small charm shaped like a key. Her mother had worn it every single day of Maya's life, never taking it off, not even to shower. Maya had asked about it once when she was small. Her mother had just smiled that sad smile and said some doors were better left locked. Now Maya was homeless, hungry, and holding the only thing her mother ever protected. The system had come for her the day after the funeral. Child services with their clipboards and their concerned faces, ready to slot her into foster care like she was a problem to be filed away. But Maya had learned long ago that the system didn't save girls like her. It just moved them from one kind of danger to another. So she ran. She'd been on the streets for 5 nights now. 5 nights of sleeping in doorways, of scrounging food from dumpsters behind restaurants, of avoiding the men who looked at homeless teenage girls like they were something to be used and discarded. 5 nights of Chicago winter seeping into her bones and making her wonder if her mother's death had been a mercy she just hadn't received yet. But she had a mission now. Find Cole Brennan. The problem was that men like him didn't get found unless they wanted to be. Men like him lived in penthouses with views of the skyline, surrounded by security and secrets. Men like him didn't talk to homeless girls shivering on street corners. Maya had spent 2 days just trying to figure out where he might be. She'd asked around, carefully, quietly, in the places where information flowed like dirty water. The consensus was always the same. Cole Brennan owned half the South Side and controlled the other half. He ran operations out of a club in River North, but nobody saw him unless he wanted to be seen. Tonight, Maya was done waiting. Before we go on, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. She pushed herself off the wall, her legs stiff from cold and exhaustion. The club was called Apex, a name that suited him, apparently. Top of the food chain. King of the city. The kind of place where the bouncer alone probably made more in a week than her mother had made in a year. Maya walked the 12 blocks because she had no money for the bus. Her breath came out in white clouds. Christmas lights blinked in windows, mocking her with their warmth. Families moved past her on the sidewalk, loaded down with shopping bags, not seeing her at all. That was the thing about being homeless in America. You became invisible right when you needed to be seen most. Apex rose before her like a cathedral of glass and steel. Music thrummed from inside, bass so deep she felt it in her chest. Beautiful people lined up behind velvet ropes, dressed in clothes that cost more than her entire life. The bouncer was the size of a small car, arms crossed, face carved from stone. Maya knew she looked like exactly what she was, a homeless kid in dirty clothes, desperate and dangerous in the way that desperation makes people. She had no plan, no strategy, just a bracelet and a dying woman's words and the kind of courage that only comes when you have absolutely nothing left to lose. She walked straight up to the bouncer. I need to see Cole Brennan. The bouncer didn't even blink. Get lost, kid. Tell him it's about Elena. That got a reaction. Small, but there. A flicker behind his eyes. Recognition. Maybe confusion. He reached for the radio on his belt. Repeat that name, he said, voice lower now. Elena, Maya said, louder this time. Elena Reyes. Tell him her daughter is here. The bouncer spoke into his radio, words too quiet for her to hear. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Around her, the people in line were starting to notice, starting to stare. A gal in a designer dress whispered to her friend, both of them looking at Maya like she was a stray dog that had wandered into the wrong neighborhood. 2 minutes passed. 3. Then the door opened. A man stepped out, tall, lean, dressed in black. He looked Maya up and down with eyes that calculated her worth in half a second and found it wanting. But he nodded to the bouncer and said, "Bring her." The bouncer grabbed Maya's arm, not rough, but firm, and pulled her past the line of beautiful people, past the velvet ropes, into the heat and noise of Apex. Inside was another world. Chandeliers dripped from high ceilings. The bar gleamed like an altar. Music pounded, and bodies moved together in the dim light, everyone young and drunk and untouchable in the way that money made people untouchable. Maya had never felt more out of place in her entire life. They walked her through the club, past the dance floor, past private booths where men in expensive suits leaned close to women in expensive dresses, conducting business that happened in handshakes and nods. The man in black led her to a staircase in the back, guarded by another wall of muscle. Up. The second floor was quieter, carpeted. The music from below was just a pulse now, like a heartbeat. Doors lined a long hallway, each one probably hiding the kind of secrets that got people disappeared. They stopped at the last door. The man in black knocked twice, then opened it without waiting for an answer. And there he was. Cole Brennan sat behind a desk of dark wood, papers spread before him, a glass of whiskey catching the light from a lamp. He looked up as Maya entered, and she saw what everyone must see first, the power. It radiated off him like heat. He was maybe 40, with dark hair touched with gray at the temples, and eyes that looked like they'd seen every sin humanity had to offer and committed most of them personally. But when he saw Maya, really saw her, something in his face changed. Not much. Not enough for anyone else to notice. But Maya had spent her whole life reading people's faces, learning to see the micro-expressions that meant the difference between safe and dangerous. And what she saw in Cole Brennan's face in that split second was recognition, and something that looked almost like fear. "Out," he said quietly, and the man in black left without a word, closing the door behind him. Maya stood there in her dirty jacket, in a room that probably cost more to decorate than her entire existence, facing a man who could end her life with a phone call. But she was Elena Reyes' daughter, and Elena Reyes hadn't raised a coward. Maya reached into her pocket and pulled out the bracelet. It caught the light, silver and tarnished and old. She held it up so he could see the charm, the key. "My mom said you'd recognize this," Maya said, her voice steadier than she felt. "She said to find you. She said to show you this, and you'd know." Cole Brennan stared at the bracelet like it was a ghost. Then his face changed completely, and Maya realized that whatever door this key opened, whatever truth her mother had kept locked away for 17 years, it was about to bane both their lives to the ground. Cole Brennan didn't move for what felt like an eternity. He just stared at that bracelet dangling from Maya's frozen fingers, and something happened to his face that she'd bet money didn't happen often. The mask slipped. The careful control cracked. For just a moment, the most dangerous man in Chicago looked like someone had reached into his chest and squeezed his heart until it stopped. Then he blinked, and the mask was back. "Where did you get that?" His voice was steady, but Maya heard the tremor underneath. Like an earthquake happening miles below the surface. "My mom," Maya said. "Elena Reyes. She wore it every day. She told me to find you before she died." "Elena." He said the name like it hurt, like it was something sacred he hadn't spoken aloud in years. He stood slowly, came around the desk, each step deliberate, measured. Maya's instinct screamed at her to run, but she held her ground. "When?" 6 days ago." He closed his eyes, just for a second. "How?" "Pneumonia. We couldn't afford the medication. By the time the hospital took her, it was too late." Something flickered across his face, rage. maybe, or grief wearing rage's clothing. You're her daughter. It wasn't a question, but Maya nodded anyway. Your name? Maya. Cole stared at her, really looked at her for the first time. Maya felt stripped bare under that gaze, like he was reading every story her body told, the hunger in her hollow cheeks, the exhaustion in her eyes, the cold that had settled into her bones and wouldn't leave, the dirt under her fingernails, the smell of the streets that clung to her clothes. How old are you? 17. And where have you been staying? Maya lifted her chin. Nowhere. Everywhere. Child services came for me after the funeral. I ran. Smart girl. He turned back to his desk, picked up his phone. Jackson, I need you up here. Now. He hung up without waiting for a response. When he looked at Maya again, something had shifted. Decision made. You're not going back to the streets. I didn't come here for charity. Good, because I'm not offering it. He gestured to a leather chair. Sit down before you fall down. Maya's legs made the decision for her. She collapsed into the chair, and the softness of it almost made her cry. She couldn't remember the last time she'd sat in something that didn't hurt. The door opened. A man entered, younger than Cole, maybe 30, with the kind of face that belonged in magazines. Clean-cut, sharp-dressed, radiating competence. His eyes went to Maya, assessing her the same way Cole had, but without the emotion. So, Jackson, this is Maya, Elena's daughter. The change in Jackson was immediate. His whole body went still. Elena. She passed 6 days ago. Maya's been on the streets since. Cole's voice was flat, giving orders now. Take her to the penthouse. Get her cleaned up, fed, and into a bed. Post security on the door. Nobody in or out without my clearance. Understood. Wait, Maya said, finding her voice. I don't need. You came to me, Cole interrupted, his tone brooking no argument. That means you're my responsibility now. That bracelet means you're my responsibility now. So you'll do what I say, when I say it, or you can go back to freezing to death in doorways. Your choice. Maya wanted to fight. Pride demanded it. But exhaustion won. She hadn't eaten a real meal in days. Hadn't slept without waking every hour to make sure she was still alive. Her body was shutting down, piece by piece, and she knew it. Fine, she whispered. Cole nodded to Jackson, who moved to Maya's side. Come on, kid. Let's get you taken care of. Maya stood, her legs shaking. She looked back at Cole Brennan, at the man her mother had sent her to find. Why did she have your bracelet? Cole's expression was unreadable. Because I gave it to her, 18 years ago, the night I asked her to marry me. The world tilted. What? Your mother was my fiancée, Maya. We were supposed to get married. And then one day, she disappeared. Took that bracelet and vanished like she'd never existed. I searched for her for 2 years. Turned this city inside out. Never found a trace. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. Now I know why. Maya's mind raced, trying to make sense of it. Her mother had never mentioned a man named Cole. Never talked about Chicago before Maya was born. Never explained why they lived the way they did. Always moving, always careful, always looking over their shoulder. She never told me about you, Maya said. No, I imagine she didn't. Cole picked up his whiskey, drained it. Go with Jackson. We'll talk more tomorrow. You need rest. And then what? Then we figure out what the hell your mother was running from, and why she finally decided it was safe to send you to me. If stories like this have already found a place in your heart, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and check the description box below for more stories that stay long after they end. Jackson led Maya back through the hallway, down the stairs, out a private exit into a garage where black SUVs sat like sleeping predators. He opened the door to one, and Maya climbed in, her body sinking into leather that felt like a luxury she had no right to. They drove through Chicago in silence. Maya watched the city pass outside tinted windows, the lights, the people, the world she'd been living in but never really part of. Jackson didn't try to make conversation, and she was grateful for it. Her mind was too full, spinning too fast. Her mother had been engaged to Cole Brennan, Elena Reyes, who made minimum wage and wore the same 3 outfits on rotation, who clipped coupons and counted pennies, who worked herself to death trying to keep them afloat. She'd once been engaged to a man who owned half of Chicago. And she'd left him. Run from him. Why? The SUV pulled into an underground garage, and they took a private elevator up. Maya didn't count the floors. Didn't matter. When the doors opened, she stepped into a penthouse that took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city. The skyline glittered like a promise. The space was all clean lines and expensive furniture, the kind of place Maya had only ever seen in movies. It smelled like leather and money and possibility. "Guest rooms this way," Jackson said, leading her down a hall. He opened a door to reveal a bedroom bigger than the studio apartment Maya had grown up in. King-sized bed. Private bathroom. Windows that showed half the city. Bathroom stocked. There's clothes in the closet that should fit. Kitchen's fully loaded. Help yourself to anything. I'll be right outside. You're guarding me. Protecting you, Jackson corrected. There's a difference. Am I a prisoner? Are you planning to run? Maya looked at the bed, at the promise of warmth and safety and rest. No. Then you're not a prisoner. Get some sleep, Maya. You look like you need it. He left, closing the door softly behind him. Maya stood in the center of that beautiful room and felt the enormity of the last week crash down on her. Her mother was dead. Her life had imploded. She was in the home of a man who might have been her stepfather if things had gone differently. A man who ran an empire built on violence and fear and power. And she had no idea why her mother had kept this from her. Maya stripped off her filthy clothes, left them in a pile on the floor like shed skin. She walked into the bathroom, all marble and chrome, and turned on the shower. Water rushed out, hot and endless, the kind of luxury she'd almost forgotten existed. She stood under the spray until her skin turned pink, washing away the streets, the cold, the fear. The water at her feet ran gray with doubt and exhaustion. When she finally climbed into bed, wrapped in softness that felt criminal, Maya expected to lie awake, expected her mind to race, to spiral, to loop through every impossible thing that had happened. But her body had other ideas. She was asleep before her head fully hit the pillow, and for the first time in 6 days, she didn't dream of her mother dying. She dreamed of a woman running through Chicago streets, a bracelet clutched in her hand, a man's voice calling her name behind her. Elena, 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 running from something, or maybe running toward something. Maya would never know which. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and forgot, for one beautiful moment, where she was. Then memory crashed back like cold water. She sat up fast, heart pounding, and took in the room around her, still expensive, still clean, still impossibly far from the streets she'd been sleeping on a day ago. Her dainty clothes were gone from where she'd left them. In their place, neatly folded on a chair, were new clothes, jeans that looked her size, a soft sweater, undergarments still in packaging, socks, everything she might need. The level of attention to detail made her skin crawl and her heart warm at the same time. Someone had come in while she slept, close enough to touch her, and she hadn't woken. Too exhausted to maintain the hypervigilance that had kept her alive on the streets. That scared her more than anything. Maya dressed quickly, her body moving on autopilot. The clothes fit perfectly, which meant someone had guessed her size or Cole Brennan had people who were very, very good at their jobs. Probably both. She found the kitchen by following the smell of coffee. Jackson sat at the counter, laptop open, perfectly dressed despite the early hour. He looked up when she entered and nodded toward the coffee maker. "Help yourself. There's food in the fridge." Maya poured coffee into a mug that probably cost more than her mother's monthly rent had been. The thought made her chest tight. She opened the refrigerator and stared at more food than she'd seen in one place in months. Fresh fruit, real milk, bread that wasn't stale. Her stomach growled so loud Jackson probably heard it from across the room. She made herself a sandwich, then another, eating standing up because sitting felt too vulnerable. Jackson watched her without comment, which she appreciated. No pity, no judgment, just acknowledgement that she was hungry and now she was eating. When she'd finished, Jackson closed his laptop. Boss wants to see you. Whenever you're ready. Where's he? Office downstairs. Same building. Of course he was. Probably owned the whole tower. Maya followed Jackson back to the elevator, down through floors of steel and glass, to an office suite that screamed power. The receptionist was beautiful and cold, barely glancing at Maya as Jackson led her past into Cole's office. Cole stood at the window, hands in his pockets, looking out over the city he controlled. He turned when they entered, and Maya saw he hadn't slept. His shirt was the same one from last night, slightly rumpled now. The shadows under his eyes had deepened. "Leave us," he said to Jackson, who nodded and left without a word. Cole gestured to the same leather chair from the night before. Maya sat, and he took the chair opposite her instead of retreating behind his desk. More intimate this way. More uncomfortable. "Did you sleep?" "Yeah." "Good. You needed it." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, studying her face the way people study maps to unknown territory. "I spent last night making phone calls, pulling records, trying to piece together what happened after Elena left." Maya waited. "Your mother disappeared on March 3rd, 18 years ago. Left everything, her apartment, her job, her entire life. The only thing she took was that bracelet. I searched for her for 2 years. Every resource I had, every connection, every favor. Nothing. She was a ghost." He paused, his jaw tight. 8 months after she disappeared, you were born." The math clicked into place in Maya's head like a lock turning. She'd been born in November. Her mother had left in March. If you counted back 9 months from November. "Are you my father?" The words hung in the air between them like something physical. Cole's face was unreadable, carved from stone. "I don't know. The timing works. But Elena never contacted me. Never told me she was pregnant. If you're mine, she kept that from me for 17 years. Why would she do that?" "That's what we're going to find out." Cole stood, paced to the window. "I've arranged for a DNA test. Doctor's coming here this afternoon. We'll know within a few days." Maya's mind spun. The possibility that this man, this dangerous, powerful man, might be her father felt too huge to process. All her life, it had just been her and her mother. Her father was a question that never got answered, a hole in her history that her mother refused to fill. "What if I am?" Maya asked. "Your daughter. What happens then?" Cole turned to face her, and something in his expression softened. Just a fraction, but enough to notice. "Then I do what I should have done 18 years ago. I take care of you, protect you, make sure you never sleep on the streets again. And if I'm not, then I do it anyway. Because Elena sent you to me. Because you're wearing her bracelet. Because she wanted you safe, and I failed her once. I won't fail her again through you." The conviction in his voice made Maya's throat tight. She looked away, out at the city stretching endlessly beyond the window. "My mom never talked about her past. Never mentioned Chicago before I was born. We moved around a lot when I was little, different cities, different states. We didn't settle here until I was 5. And even then, she was always careful, always watching, like she was waiting for something to find us." "She was running," Cole said quietly. "From me or from something else. Maybe both." "From you? Why?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." He moved back to his chair, sat down heavily. Your mother loved this city, loved the lake, the architecture, the energy. She used to say Chicago was alive in a way other places weren't. Walking away from it, from me, from everything, it would have killed something in her. She wouldn't have done it without a damn good reason. Maya heard the pain underneath his words. This wasn't just about lost love. This was about betrayal, abandonment, years of questions with no answers. Cole Brennan had built an empire, controlled thousands of lives, and the one person he couldn't control had been a waitress who disappeared in the night. What if the reason was you? Maya asked carefully. What if she was scared of you? Of what you do? Cole's laugh was bitter. Elena knew exactly what I did. What I was. She wasn't naive, and I never lied to her. If she was scared, it wasn't of me. Then what? That's the question. He rubbed his face, exhaustion showing through. I've made enemies, Maya. More than I can count. People who'd love to hurt me. And the easiest way to hurt a man like me is through the people he loves. If Elena thought she was protecting you by disappearing, by staying hidden. The implication settled over Maya like a heavy blanket. Her whole life, the moving, the poverty, the way her mother flinched at every unexpected knock on the door, it might have all been to keep Maya safe from shadows she'd never known existed. If you've ever felt torn between fear and love, you'll understand her. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and check the description box below. Your support keeps stories like this alive. So what now? Maya asked. I just stay here, wait for test results. For now, until we know more, until we figure out if whoever Elena was hiding from is still a threat. Cole's eyes hardened. And until then, you don't leave this building without security. You don't contact anyone from your old life. You don't make yourself a target. I don't have an old life. My mom was all I had. Something flickered in Cole's expression. Sympathy, maybe. Understanding. Then we'll build you a new one. Better one. I don't need you to save me. No, Cole agreed. But I'm going to anyway. Because if you're my daughter, you're my responsibility. And if you're not, you're my penance. Either way, you're not going back to the streets. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to throw his protection back in his face and walk out with her pride intact. But pride didn't keep you warm at night. Pride didn't fill your stomach. Pride didn't make you safe. And despite everything, despite the fear and uncertainty and the impossibility of this situation, Maya felt safer in Cole Brennan's office than she'd felt anywhere since her mother died. Maybe safer than she'd felt in years. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Cole nodded, something like relief crossing his face. Jackson will take you back upstairs. Rest. Eat. Get your strength back. We'll talk again after the doctor comes. Maya stood to leave, but paused at the door. Cole. Yeah. What if my mom was wrong? What if coming here makes everything worse? Cole was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of promises he'd already made to himself. Then I'll handle it. Whatever comes, whatever threat, whatever danger, I'll handle it. That's what I do. Maya believed him. That was the terrifying part. She believed him completely. The doctor came at 3 o'clock with a medical bag and the kind of discretion that money bought. Maya sat in the penthouse living room while a stranger swabbed the inside of her cheek, sealed it in a tube, and made notes on a tablet. Cole sat across from her, going through the same process, and Maya couldn't stop staring at him, looking for resemblances she'd never noticed before. Did they have the same nose? The same curve to their jaw? Her mother's features were stamped all over Maya's face, but maybe there was something of him there too. Maybe she'd been carrying pieces of Cole Brennan all along and never known it. The doctor left with promises of results in 48 hours. Cole paid him in cash from a safe in his office that probably held more money than Maya would see in a lifetime. Then they were alone again, the silence heavy with waiting. Tell me about her, Cole said suddenly. Your mother. What was she like? Maya wasn't sure she wanted to share Elena Reyes with this man who claimed to have loved her. But the hunger in his eyes was too real to ignore. He needed this. Needed to know that the woman he'd lost had lived a full life, even if that life had been without him. She was strong, Maya said slowly. Stronger than anyone I've ever met. She worked 2 jobs most of my life, waitressing during the day, cleaning offices at night. She never complained. Never let me see her cry, even when I know she wanted to. Maya's voice cracked. She taught me to read with library books because we couldn't afford to buy them. She made birthdays special even when we had nothing. She'd sing in the kitchen while she cooked, these old songs I didn't know. Spanish, sometimes, even though she never taught me the language. Cole's expression was carefully neutral, but his hands gripped the arms of his chair tight enough that his knuckles went white. She sang in Spanish when I knew her too. Her grandmother's songs, she said, from back when her family first came to Texas. She never told me about Texas, never told me about any family. She didn't have much. Her grandmother raised her after her parents died. Then her grandmother passed when Elena was 19. I met her a year later, working at a diner in Little Village. She brought me coffee and smiled, and I was gone. Simple as that. Maya tried to picture her mother at 20, young, alive, full of possibility, falling in love with a man who would become someone dangerous. It didn't fit with the tired woman who'd raised her, who'd worked herself to death just to keep them surviving. What were you then? Maya asked. When you met her? Cole's smile was cold. Same thing I am now. Maybe not as successful, not as careful, but the same basic thing. I've never pretended to be something I'm not. And she knew. She knew. He leaned back, his eyes distant. Elena wasn't naive. She grew up in neighborhoods where guys like me were everywhere. She understood the reality. She just thought she could handle it. Thought love was enough. Why wasn't it? Cole was quiet for a long time. That's what I've been trying to figure out for 18 years. The next 2 days existed in a strange limbo. Maya stayed in the penthouse, learning its rhythms, its rules. Jackson was her constant shadow, polite but distant, always there but never intrusive. Food appeared in the kitchen without her asking. Clothes showed up in her closet, perfectly sized, more than she could ever need. The windows showed her a city she'd lived in her whole life but was only now seeing from above. She felt like a princess in a tower, safe and trapped all at once. Cole came and went at odd hours. Sometimes Maya heard him in the office late at night, his voice low and dangerous as he conducted business she didn't want to know about. Other times he'd appear in the kitchen at dawn, making coffee in silence, looking like a man who'd forgotten how to sleep. They didn't talk much, just orbited each other like planets waiting to collide. On the morning of the 3rd day, Jackson knocked on her door at 8 a.m. Results are in. Boss wants to see you. Maya's stomach dropped. She'd spent 2 days telling herself she didn't care, that the answer didn't matter. But she'd been lying. It mattered more than almost anything ever had. She dressed carefully, took longer than necessary, delaying the inevitable. But finally, there was nothing left to do but face whatever truth was waiting downstairs. Cole's office felt different today, charged with electricity, like the air before a thunderstorm. He stood at his desk, a manila envelope in his hands, unopened. His face was unreadable, but Maya saw the tension in his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes. Sit down, he said quietly. Maya Saturday. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Cole stared at the envelope for a long moment. Then he opened it, pulled out papers, read them in silence. Maya watched his face, trying to decipher what she was seeing. The mask he wore was too good. She couldn't read anything. Finally, he looked up, and his eyes were shining. You're mine, he said, his voice rough. You're my daughter. The world stopped. Maya heard the words but couldn't process them, couldn't make them mean what they meant. The man sitting across from her, the most powerful criminal in Chicago, the man her mother had run from and hidden from for 17 years, was her father. She had a father. Maya, Cole said, and his voice cracked on her name. Do you understand what I'm telling you? She couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. 18 years of questions answered in 3 words. 18 years of absence explained by the papers in Cole Brennan's hands. You're my daughter, he said again, and this time she heard everything underneath. The grief, the rage, the love that had nowhere to go for 18 years and was now flooding out of him like a dam breaking. Cole moved around the desk, and before Maya could process what was happening, he was kneeling in front of her chair, eye level with her, and she saw tears on his face. Actual tears on the face of a man who probably hadn't cried since he was a child. I didn't know, he said, his voice breaking. I swear to God, Maya, I didn't know. If I'd known, if she'd told me, nothing would have stopped me from finding you. Nothing. And Maya believed him. That was the thing. She believed him completely. Why didn't she tell you? Maya whispered. I don't know, but we're going to find out. The tears were gone now, replaced by something harder, colder, the grief transforming into fury. Someone scared her badly enough that she thought disappearing was safer than staying with me. Someone made her believe you were better off poor and struggling than protected by me. And when I find out who... He didn't finish. Didn't need to. Maya saw the promise of violence in his eyes, the kind of retribution that would be thorough and absolute. If your heart's racing too, take a breath, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and check the description box below for more unforgettable love stories. What happens now? Maya asked. Cole stood, offered her his hand. She took it, and he pulled her to her feet. Now I make up for 18 years. Now you become what you were always supposed to be, my daughter, my heir, protected, safe, mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it felt like something she'd been missing her whole life. Her mother had loved her, but that love had always been shadowed by fear, by the exhaustion of survival. This was different. This was the kind of protection that came with power, with resources, with a man who could bane the world down to keep her safe. I don't know how to be your daughter, Maya admitted, and I don't know how to be your father, so we'll figure it out together. Cole squeezed her hand once, then let go. But first, we need to talk about what happens next. There are people who will see you as a weakness, an opportunity. You're going to need to learn how to navigate this world, how to protect yourself, how to survive. I've been surviving my whole life. No, Cole said gently. You've been existing. Surviving is different, and I'm going to teach you how. Maya looked at this man who was her father, who'd spent 18 years not knowing she existed, and felt the first stirrings of something that might have been hope, or might have been fear. She wasn't sure there was a difference in them all. Okay, she said. Teach me. Cole smiled, a real smile, the first she'd seen from him. It transformed his face, made him look younger, almost vulnerable. That's my girl, he said, and Maya felt something click into place inside her chest. Like a piece of herself she hadn't known was missing had finally found its home. The days that followed the test results felt like falling into a river with a current too strong to fight. Cole didn't waste time easing Maya into her new life. He threw her in head first, the way people learn to swim when the alternative is drowning. You need to understand what I am, he said the morning after the results came in, across breakfast in his penthouse. What we are. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I run operations throughout the South Side and most of the West. Protection, distribution, real estate, entertainment. Legal and not. People answer to me, and when they don't, there are consequences. Maya sipped coffee that was too expensive to taste like anything but itself. You're telling me you're a criminal? I'm telling you I'm practical. The law serves the rich and abandons everyone else. I provide services the system won't. I protect neighborhoods the police have given up on. I make sure people who work for me can feed their families. He paused. But yes, by legal definition, I'm a criminal. And now, so are you. By association if nothing else. The weight of it settled on Maya's shoulders. My mom kept me away from this. Your mother was trying to protect you. I understand that. But protection through ignorance only works until the world catches up. Cole leaned forward, intense. You're my daughter. People will know that now. They'll use it against me if they can. Which means you need to know how this world works. How to see threats coming. How to move through it without becoming a target. So Maya learned. Jackson became her teacher in practical matters. How to recognize when someone was following her. How to read a room for danger. Basic self-defense that felt choreographed and strange when she practiced it in the penthouse gym. He was patient, methodical, never condescending. Just taught her the way someone teaches essential skills for survival. Cole taught her everything else. He showed her the businesses he owned, the clubs, the restaurants, the construction companies that were fronts for operations she didn't ask about. He introduced her to people who worked for him, men and women who looked at her with calculation and curiosity, trying to figure out where she fit in the hierarchy. She learned names, territories, the complex web of alliances and debts that held Cole's empire together. She learned that power in Chicago wasn't held through violence alone. It was held through relationships, through knowing who owed what to whom, through being indispensable. Information is currency, Cole told her one afternoon in his office, teaching her to read the reports that came across his desk. More valuable than money. Money you can replace. Information is unique. Maya was a fast study. She'd spent her whole life surviving on the streets, reading situations, knowing when to run and when to stand her ground. This was just a different kind of street, with higher stakes and better clothes. But the hardest part wasn't learning the business. It was learning to be someone's daughter. Cole was awkward at fatherhood in a way that would have been funny if it wasn't so painful to watch. He'd missed 18 years, missed her first words, her first steps, every birthday and every milestone. He tried to make up for it all at once, buying her things she didn't need, hovering like she might disappear if he looked away, struggling to find the balance between authority and affection. You don't have to try so hard, Maya told him one night, when he'd bought her a laptop she hadn't asked for and was explaining its features with an intensity usually reserved for business negotiations. Cole stopped mid-sentence, looked at her like she'd caught him at something. I don't know what I'm doing, he admitted. I've run a criminal empire for 20 years. I can handle rival organizations, federal investigations, hostile takeovers. But I have no idea how to be your father. Maya felt something soften in her chest. My mom didn't know what she was doing either. Not at first. She figured it out as she went. Maybe that's just what parents do. Elena always made it look easy. It wasn't. I remember nights she'd sit at the kitchen table after I was supposed to be asleep, just staring at bills she couldn't pay, crying quietly so I wouldn't hear. She was terrified all the time, but she never let me see it. She just kept going. Cole's expression was complicated, grief and admiration and something that might have been jealousy all mixed together. She was stronger than I ever was. No, Maya said. She was just scared. Fear makes you strong when you have something to protect. Then I'm going to be the strongest man alive, because I have you to protect now. The conviction in his voice made Maya's throat tight. She'd never had this before, someone whose entire world reorganized around keeping her safe. Her mother had loved her fiercely, but that love had been shadowed by exhaustion, by the grinding reality of poverty. This was different. This was love backed by resources, by power, by the absolute certainty that nothing would touch her while Cole Brennan drew breath. It should have felt like a cage. Instead, it felt like freedom. Weeks passed. Maya settled into the rhythm of her new life like learning a complicated dance. She still woke up sometimes expecting to be back on the streets, still flinched at loud noises, still hoarded food in her room even though the kitchen was always full. Trauma didn't dissipate just because circumstances changed. But slowly, carefully, she began to feel like maybe this could work. Maybe she could be Maya Brennan, daughter of a criminal, student of a world she never wanted to enter. Maybe she could survive this too. Then Cole came home early one afternoon, his face hard in a way she'd learned to recognize. The way he looked when someone had crossed a line. "We need to talk," he said, and Maya's stomach dropped. They sat in his office. Jackson was there too, standing by the door, his usual calm replaced by something sharp and alert. "I've been digging into why Elena ran," Cole said without preamble. "Making inquiries, calling in favors, putting pieces together. And I found something. Someone, actually." Cole's jaw was tight. A man named Vincent Shaw. He ran the North Side 18 years ago. Big operation, rival to mine. We were headed for war back then, territories overlapping, tensions running high. And Vincent Shaw had a reputation for going after families. Loved to make examples. Maya felt cold spreading through her chest. "You think he threatened my mom?" "I think he did more than threaten." Cole pulled out a folder, opened it. Inside were old newspaper clippings, police reports, photographs. 3 months before Elena disappeared, Shaw's people grabbed the girlfriend of one of my lieutenants. Held her for 2 days. Did things to her I won't describe. Then they sent her back as a message. Anyone connected to me was fair game. Maya stayed at the papers, not really seeing them. Her mind was assembling pieces, building a picture she didn't want to see. Mom knew about this. Everyone knew. It was all over the streets. A warning shot across my bow. Cole's voice was ice. Elena was smart. She would have understood what it meant. Would have known that being engaged to me made her a target. And if she was pregnant... "She ran to protect me," Maya whispered. "To make sure I'd never be leverage against you." "That's what I think. Shaw would have used you against me your entire life. Used Elena. Made both of you suffer just to prove he could." Cole closed the folder. So she disappeared. Lived in poverty. Struggled and worked herself to death. All to keep you safe from a monster who wanted to hurt me through anyone I loved. Before we close this chapter, take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, and check the description box below. Every small gesture helps the next story find its way to you. Maya felt tears burning her eyes. All those years, all that suffering, and her mother had never complained, never explained, just carried the weight of it alone. "Where's he now?" Maya asked. "This Vincent Shaw." Cole's smile was terrifying. "That's the interesting part. Shaw disappeared 8 years ago. Vanished one night, never seen again. His organization collapsed. North Side got absorbed by other operations, mine included." "You killed him?" "No. I wish I had. Someone beat me to it." Cole leaned back. "But what matters is that he's gone. Has been for almost a decade. Which means the threat Elena was running from stopped being a threat 8 years ago. And she never knew. She died thinking she still had to hide, still had to keep you away from me, when the danger had been dead and gone for years. The tragedy of it was too much. Maya couldn't process the waste, the unnecessary pain. Her mother had died poor and exhausted, protecting her daughter from a ghost. She could have come back, Maya said, her voice breaking. She could have contacted you. We could have been safe. She didn't know, Cole said gently. And maybe she couldn't take the risk. Maybe after years of running, of building a life away from all this, she couldn't imagine coming back. Maybe she'd convinced herself you were better off without me. Were we? Cole looked at her for a long moment. "I don't know, but you're here now. And I'm going to make sure every second your mother spent protecting you wasn't wasted. I'm going to give you the life she wanted you to have. The safety, the future, everything." Maya wiped her eyes, tried to pull herself together. "What about my mom? What she went through?" "I can't give her justice. The man who hurt her is already dead. But I can honor what she did. How she loved you. How she sacrificed everything to keep you safe." Cole's expression was fierce. "I can make sure you never have to run. Never have to be afraid. Never have to sacrifice anything for survival. That's how I honor Elena. By protecting what she protected. Maya nodded, unable to speak. Come here, Cole said quietly. Maya stood on shaking legs, moved around the desk. And Cole Brennan, the most dangerous man in Chicago, the kingpin who'd built an empire on fear and power, pulled his daughter into his arms and held her while she cried for the mother who'd given up everything and never got to see it be enough. Winter deepened over Chicago, and Maya learned what it meant to be a Brennan. She moved through Cole's world with increasing confidence, understanding the unspoken rules, reading the subtle signs of respect and fear that followed her father everywhere. People knew who she was now. Word had spread through the streets, through the networks of power. Cole Brennan had a daughter, something precious to protect, which made her dangerous in ways she was still learning to understand. You're a symbol, Jackson explained one morning during their training session. He'd become something like a friend, or as close to a friend as someone in his position could be. You represent succession, continuity. People who want to curry favor with your father will try to get close to you. People who want to hurt him will see you as an opportunity. So I'm just a target. You're leverage. There's a difference. Jackson adjusted her stance, correcting her form as she went through defensive movements. A target gets shot. Leverage gets taken, used, negotiated with. You're worth more alive than dead. That's comforting. It's practical, which is why you need to know how to protect yourself when security isn't enough. Maya had gotten good at the physical training. Her body remembered the streets, the constant vigilance, and adapted quickly to Jackson's lessons. But she still felt like she was playing dress-up in someone else's life. Like any moment, someone would realize she didn't belong here and send her back to the cold. Cole seemed to sense her uncertainty. He started bringing her deeper into his operations, showing her not just the business side but the human side, the neighborhood associations he funded, the youth programs he quietly supported, the protection he provided to communities the city had abandoned. It complicated her understanding of what he was. I'm not a good man, Cole told her one night over dinner in the penthouse. Just the two of them, the city glittering beyond the windows. I've done things that would horrify you. Hurt people. Destroyed lives. But I take care of what's mine. The neighborhoods under my protection have lower crime rates than the rest of the South Side. Small businesses thrive because I don't let gangs shake them down. People feel safe. By being more dangerous than everything else. Exactly. Power isn't good or evil, Maya. It's just power. What matters is how you use it. And how do you use it? Cole was quiet for a moment. I make sure people who work for me can provide for their families. I keep territory stable so civilians don't get caught in crossfire. I'm the monster in the dark that keeps worse monsters at bay. He met her eyes. Your mother hated that about me. She wanted to believe the world was better than it is. That love and goodness could win without getting their hands dirty. Maybe she was right. Maybe. But she still had to run. Still had to hide. Still worked herself to death just to survive. Goodness doesn't pay the bills, Maya. Doesn't keep you safe. Power does. Maya couldn't argue with that. She'd lived the alternative. She'd been good, been innocent, and it hadn't protected her from anything. Her mother had been the best person Maya had ever known, and she died poor and alone in a county hospital. There was a lesson in that, even if it hurt to acknowledge. The call came on a Tuesday morning, 6 weeks after the DNA test results. Maya was reading in the penthouse library, a room she'd discovered and claimed as her own, full of books Cole probably never touched. Jackson burst in without knocking, his face grim. Your father needs you. Now. Maya's stomach dropped. She'd learned that tone. That was the voice Jackson used when something had gone wrong. She followed him to Cole's office. The atmosphere was electric with tension. Cole stood at his desk, surrounded by men Maya recognized as his inner circle, the ones who handled problems that couldn't be solved with money or negotiation. What's wrong? Maya asked. Cole looked up, and she saw something in his face that scared her. Not anger, Fee, how much did your mother tell you about her life before me? Cole asked. About her family. Nothing. She said her parents died when she was young. Her grandmother raised her, then died when Mom was 19. That's all I know. No siblings, no cousins, no one else. No. Why? Cole gestured to one of his men, who handed Maya a photograph. It showed a man in his 40s, sharp-dressed, with eyes that looked familiar in a way that made her skin crawl. This is Antonio Reyes, Cole said. He's your mother's brother. Maya's world tilted. I don't have an uncle. My mom said. Your mother lied. Antonio is real. He's been in prison for the last 22 years, serving life for multiple murders, and he got out 3 days ago on a technicality. The photograph shook in Maya's hands. Why didn't she tell me about him? Because Antonio Reyes is one of the most violent men I've ever heard of. He ran with the cartels down in Texas before his arrest, made his reputation through brutality. Cole's voice was carefully controlled, and according to my sources, the first thing he did when he got out was start asking questions about Elena. Maya felt cold spreading through her chest. He doesn't know she's dead. He does now. I made show of it. But Maya, Cole moved around the desk, gripped her shoulders. He also knows about you. Knows Elena had a daughter. Knows that daughter is with me. What does that mean? It means we have a problem. Antonio is old school. Family means everything, even if that family cut ties 20 years ago. He'll see you as his responsibility, his blood right, and he'll see me as the man who stole his sister and got her killed. Maya tried to process this. An uncle she'd never known existed. Another piece of her mother's hidden past coming back to haunt them. What does he want? You, Cole said flatly. He's put out word that he wants to meet you, wants to reclaim what's his. Which in his world means taking you from me, by force if necessary. Can't you just handle it? Maya hated how small her voice sounded. Not easily. Antonio has connections I can't touch. Cartels don't play by the same rules we do, and killing him would start a war that would spill over into civilian areas. Hundreds would die. Cole's jaw was tight. I won't let that happen, but I also won't let him take you. So what do? We meet with him. Controlled environment. Neutral ground. I'll try to negotiate. But Maya, he pulled her closer. If this goes wrong, if he makes a move, you run. Jackson will get you out. There's a safe house upstate. Papers under a new name. Money. You disappear and you don't look back. I'm not leaving you. You will if I tell you to. Cole's voice was steel. You're my daughter. Protecting you comes before everything, even my own life. If stories like this linger in your heart long after they end, don't leave just yet. Like, comment, subscribe, and check the description box below, and let the next story find you when the night grows quiet again. The meeting was set for Friday night, in a warehouse Cole owned near the docks. Neutral in theory, but on Cole's territory in practice. Maya spent the days before learning everything she could about Antonio Reyes. What she learned didn't comfort her. Antonio had left a trail of bodies across Texas before his arrest. The kind of violence that made headlines, that scared other criminals. He'd been 24 when they locked him up, already a legend in Satan's circles. Now he was 46, hardened by decades in maximum security, and apparently still connected enough to make demands. Your mother ran from him too, Cole told her the night before the meeting. That's what I think, anyway. Shaw was the immediate threat, but Antonio was the original one. He was already in prison when Elena and I met, but his reputation followed her. She must have been terrified he'd get out one day. Find her. Find you. She never felt safe, Maya realized. Even when Shaw was gone. Even when we settled in Chicago. She was always waiting for Antonio to come back. And now he has. Friday arrived too fast. Maya dressed carefully. Jeans, boots, a jacket that concealed the small knife Jackson had taught her to carry. Cole wanted her armed, but not obviously so. Wanted her ready to run, but not looking like prey. They drove to the warehouse in a convoy of black SUVs. The building squatted by the water, all rust and shadows. Inside, Cole's men had set up lights, chairs, a table, making it look civilized even though everyone knew what this was. A trial, a negotiation, a potential bloodbath. Antonio Reyes arrived exactly on time, with 4 men who looked like they'd learned to kill before they learned to read. He was shorter than Maya expected, compact and muscular in a way that came from prison yards and constant vigilance. His eyes were her mother's eyes, the same shape, the same dark brown, and seeing them in his face made Maya's stomach turn. Those were the eyes that had looked at her with love every day of her life. In this man's face, they looked predatory. "So," Antonio said, his voice carrying a Texas accent Maya's mother had carefully erased from her own. "You're Elena's girl." Maya lifted her chin, refused to show fear. "And you're the uncle she never mentioned." Antonio's smile was cold. "Your mama was good at keeping secrets. Always was. But blood calls to blood, Mija. And you're my blood. My responsibility now." "She's my daughter," Cole said, his voice flat. "That makes her my responsibility." "You got papers saying that? Court documents?" Antonio's smile widened. "Because I got birth certificate, Maya Reyes, not Maya Brennan. Reyes, my family name, which means under law, I got more claim to her than you do." The trap closed around them. Maya saw it in Cole's face, the realization that Antonio had thought this through, had found the legal leverage that money and power couldn't fight. "She's not going with you," Cole said quietly. "That ain't your choice." Antonio turned to Maya. "Your mama ran from our family. Made herself small, made you small. But you're a Reyes, girl. That means something. That means protection. Power. A place in the world bigger than whatever this man can offer." "He's my father," Maya said. "Maybe, but I'm blood. And in my world, blood matters more than DNA tests." Antonio stepped closer. "I'm giving you a choice, Mija. Come with me willingly. Let me teach you what it means to be a Reyes. Or I take you anyway, and people die. Your choice." Maya looked at Cole, saw the calculation happening behind his eyes, the terrible math of how many people would die if this went wrong. The weight of his empire balanced against one girl's freedom. "You have 1 minute," Antonio said. "Then we do this the hard way." And Maya realized that no matter what her mother had sacrificed, no matter how far she'd run, the past had finally caught up. The shadows her mother had spent a lifetime running from were here, and they wanted their blood back. Maya stood between 2 men who claimed her life as their own, and time moved like honey in winter. Antonio Reyes waited with the patience of someone who'd spent 22 years learning to wait. His 4 men stood behind him, hands loose at their sides, ready. Cole's security lined the warehouse walls, creating a perimeter that felt more like a noose. The air was thick with the promise of violence, the kind that once started wouldn't stop until someone was dead. 30 seconds, Antonio said, his eyes never leaving Maya's face. "You don't have to do this," Cole said quietly, speaking only to her. "We can fight. I've got enough people outside to turn this into a war zone. He can't take you if he's dead." "And how many people die?" Maya asked. "Your people. His people. How many bodies before I'm free?" "However many it takes." The certainty in Cole's voice should have been comforting. Instead, it made Maya feel the weight of everyone's life suddenly depending on what she chose in the next few seconds. This was power, she realized. Not the money or the influence or the fear. This was the real weight of it, making choices that determined who lived and who died. "My mother ran her whole life," Maya said slowly, her voice carrying in the warehouse silence. From family that claimed her. From men who thought they owned her because of blood or love or whatever excuse made sense. She gave up everything so I'd never have to make a choice like this. And look where it got her, Antonio said. Dead at 43, worked to death, poor as dote. That's what running gets you, Mija. Your mama knew that at the end. Why else she send you to him? He gestured at Cole. She knew you'd need protection, but she sent you to the wrong man. Maya looked at Antonio Reyes and saw the truth of what her mother had run from. Not violence, exactly, but ownership. The kind of family that held on so tight you couldn't breathe, that claimed you as property dressed up as love. Her mother had chosen poverty over that. Had chosen exhaustion and struggle and death over going back. That meant something. You're right, Maya said to Antonio. My mom did send me to Cole. Her last words. Her last choice. And she chose him. Not you. Not the family she spent her whole life hiding from. Him. Your mama was dying. Probably out of her head. That ain't a choice. That's desperation. No. That was trust. Maya took a step toward Cole. She trusted him to protect me in a way she never trusted you. In a way she never trusted anyone else. And maybe she was wrong about a lot of things. Maybe running wasn't the answer. Maybe she should have fought. But she knew what she was running from, and she ran anyway. That tells me everything I need to know about you. Antonio's face went cold. You're making a mistake, girl. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Not yours. Not his. Maya turned to Cole. I'm staying, but not because you're making me. Because I'm choosing to. There's a difference. Cole's expression was complicated, relief and fear mixed together. If you stay, this doesn't end here. He'll come back. They always do. Let him come. Antonio laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think you're tough now? Think being his daughter makes you bulletproof? I've got connections that span continents, Mija. Cartels that owe my family blood debts. You just declared war on people who don't lose wars. Then we'll see what happens, Cole said, his voice dropping into something dangerous. Because if you come at her, you're coming at me. And I've been building my empire for 20 years specifically so I could protect what's mine. You want to test that? Try it. But know that when I'm done, there won't be enough left of you to bury. The two men stared at each other, and Maya felt the violence trembling between them like a living thing. One word, one wrong move. The whole warehouse would explode. But Antonio wasn't stupid. He was a survivor. 22 years in maximum security taught patience, taught calculation. And right now, the math didn't work in his favor. Cole's people outnumbered him 3-1. This warehouse was a kill box, and Antonio had walked right into it. This ain't over, Antonio said finally. You're my blood, Maya. That don't change just because you're confused about where you belong. I'll be back. When you realize what you gave up, what you chose, I'll be waiting. Don't hold your breath, Maya said. Antonio smiled, a predator smile. Your mama said the same thing once, right before she ran. And look how that turned out. He turned to his men. We're leaving. For now. They walked out slowly, no sudden movements, everyone's hands visible. Cole's security parted to let them through, then closed ranks again. The sound of engines starting came from outside. Then they were gone. The silence they left behind was deafening. Cole moved first, crossing to Maya in 3 strides and pulling her into his arms so hard it almost hurt. Don't ever do that again, he said into her hair. Don't ever put yourself between me and someone who wants to hurt you. I didn't. I put myself on your side. There's a difference. Cole pulled back, looked at her face like he was memoizing it. You're too brave for your own good. Your mother was the same way. She was terrified her whole life. And she still ran, still hid, still kept you safe however she could. That's not cowardice, Maya. That's the bravest thing I've ever heard of. Cole's voice cracked. And now you're doing the same thing. Choosing danger to protect what matters. You're so much like her it scares me. Maya felt tears burning her eyes. I don't know how to be brave like she was. You already are. You just proved it. Jackson approached, his face grim. We need to move. He'll have people watching the exits. We should get her somewhere safe. The penthouse has full security, Cole said. We'll lock it down. 24/7 surveillance. No one gets near her. That's not a life, Maya said quietly. Being locked in a tower waiting for the next threat. It's temporary, until I deal with Antonio. How? You can't kill him without starting a war. Can't scare him off because men like him don't scare. So what? I just hide forever. Cole was quiet for a long moment. I'm working on it. Give me time. They drove back to the penthouse in tense silence. Maya watched Chicago pass outside the windows, the same city she'd grown up in, now transformed into a chessboard where she was somehow a crucial piece. She'd made her choice. Chosen Cole over Antonio, chosen this world over the alternative. But she was starting to understand what that choice cost. Freedom, safety, peace, all the things her mother had wanted for her, gone because Maya had walked into Cole Brennan's office and said, "My mother sent me." Do you regret it? Cole asked suddenly, like he'd been reading her mind. Choosing this? Choosing me? Maya thought about the streets, the cold, her mother's death, the moment she decided to find Cole instead of disappearing into foster care or worse. Every choice had led her here, to this moment, to this man who was her father and her protector and potentially her cage all at once. No, she said finally. I don't regret it. But I don't know how to live like this. Always afraid. Always guarded. Always waiting for the next threat. You'll learn. I did. You chose this life. I inherited it. That's what being my daughter means, Maya. You inherit the empire and the enemies, the power and the price. I wish I could give you one without the other, but that's not how this works. Maya nodded, understanding settling over her like a weighted blanket. This was her life now. She could resent it, fight it, rage against it, or she could accept it and learn to survive in it the way her mother had survived 18 years of hiding. Teach me, she said. Whatever I need to know to survive this. Teach me. Cole's smile was sad. That's what I've been doing since the day you walked into my office. And I won't stop until you're stronger than anyone who might want to hurt you. Will that be enough? It has to be. They reached the penthouse as night fell over Chicago. The lights of the city stretched endlessly, beautiful and indifferent. Somewhere out there, Antonio Reyes was planning his next move. Somewhere out there, other threats were gathering. The world Cole had built to protect himself had cracks in it now, and Maya was both the crack and what needed protection. She went to her room and stood at the window, looking out over everything. Her mother had looked at this same skyline once, had walked these same streets, had fallen in love with a dangerous man and paid the price for it, had run rather than live in a cage, even a beautiful one. Maya understood that impulse now, the desire to be free, truly free, even if freedom meant poverty and struggle. Her mother had chosen that, had chosen it for both of them, but Maya was making a different choice. She was choosing to stay in the cage, to learn its bars, its locks, its hidden doors, to become so familiar with it that she'd know how to slip free if she needed to, and maybe, eventually, to become strong enough that it wasn't a cage at all anymore, just a place she chose to be. I'm sorry, Mama, Maya whispered to the city lights. I couldn't run like you did. I'm not that strong. But maybe there were different kinds of strength. Maybe staying and fighting was its own form of courage. Maya would find out, because ready or not, the war for her life had begun. And this time, she wasn't running. 3 months after the warehouse, Maya woke to snow falling over Chicago and realized she hadn't thought about running in weeks. The city wore its winter-like armor, gray skies and frozen streets, the lake churning dark beyond the windows. Inside the penthouse, warmth, coffee brewing, the sound of Cole on the phone in his office, conducting the business of empire in low tones that meant nothing and everything was happening. Maya had learned to read those tones. learned what his silences meant, learned when to ask questions and when to just sit with whatever he was carrying, learned to be his daughter in small moments that added up to something bigger than either of them had expected. Antonio hadn't come back. That was the surprise. The threat he'd promised, the blood war he'd sworn, it never materialized. Cole had made calls, pulled strings, reminded people that attacking his daughter meant attacking him and everyone he protected. The message got through. Antonio's connections might have been deep, but they weren't deep enough to justify the cost of that particular war. So an uneasy peace held. Maya learned to live inside it. Jackson taught her to shoot. Not just carry a knife, but actually defend herself with something that evened odds. They'd go to a private range Cole owned, and Maya would learn to breathe through the recoil, to find the calm center in violence. She was good at it, better than she wanted to be. But good meant alive, so she practiced. Cole taught her the business, the real business, not just the surface. How to read contracts that hid crimes in legal language. How to spot weakness in rivals. How to protect people who worked for you while keeping them at arm's length. How to be feared and respected in equal measure. Loyalty is currency, he told her one afternoon in his office, going over accounts. But it's not bought, it's earned. You protect yours, and they'll die for you. You betray them, and they'll bane your empire to the ground. Is that what happened with my mom? She felt betrayed. Cole was quiet. Maybe. Or maybe she just got tired of loving someone who lived in shadows. I'll never know now. They talked about Elena often. Cole seemed to need it, to keep her alive in stories, in memories, in speculation about what might have been. Maya contributed what she could, stories from her childhood that made Cole smile or wince depending on the details. They built a picture of Elena Reyes between them, the woman they'd both loved and lost in different ways. She'd been right to run, Maya decided, right to protect her daughter from this world. But she'd also been wrong to never reach out, never contact Cole after Shaw was gone, never let Maya know her father existed. There was no simple truth here. Just complicated love and fear and sacrifice all mixed together until you couldn't separate them. The holidays came. Maya's first Christmas in the penthouse. Cole went overboard the way he did with everything. A tree that touched the ceiling, presents that made Maya's eyes sting, dinner for just the two of them that was catered by the best restaurant in the city. He was trying too hard again, desperate to make up for 18 missed Christmases in one night. Cole, Maya said gently, looking at the mountain of presents. This is too much. I know, but I'm doing it anyway. You don't have to buy my love. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to give you what Elena couldn't. Everything she wanted for you, but couldn't provide. I can't bring her back. Can't undo the years you struggled. But I can do this. Maya understood then. This wasn't about her. This was about him. About a man who'd lost the love of his life trying to love the daughter he'd never known through sheer force of will and money. It was clumsy and excessive and heartbreaking all at once. Thank you, she said quietly, for all of it, for trying. Is it working? Maya looked around the penthouse, at the life he'd built around her, the protection, the security, the luxury that felt less like a cage every day, at the man himself, dangerous, powerful, and somehow trying to be gentle for her sake. Yeah, she said, it's working. Cole's smile was real, unguarded, the rarest gift he could give. They spent Christmas together, just the two of them, and Maya felt something settle in her chest. Not quite peace, but close. Closer than she'd felt since her mother died. Maybe closer than she'd felt in years. January brought new challenges. Cole had enemies in the federal system sniffing around his businesses. Maya learned about laundering money through legitimate fronts, about how to make illegal operations look legal on paper, about the constant chess game between criminals and the law. She sat in on meetings where Cole negotiated with people who wanted to destroy him, watched him turn threats into compromises through sheer force of will and strategic threats of his own. She learned that power wasn't about being the strongest. It was about being the smartest. And Cole Brennan was brilliant in ways Maya was just beginning to understand. "You're good at this," Jackson told her one morning during training. "Reading situations. Staying calm. Your father's teaching you well. I'm learning from both of you. Just remember, knowing how to survive in this world isn't the same as wanting to live in it. Don't lose yourself in the lessons." Maya thought about that. About the girl she'd been on the streets, desperate, scared, but still herself. And the girl she was becoming, educated in violence, fluent in power, growing comfortable with a life built on fear and control. Was she losing herself? Or was she just evolving into whoever she needed to be to survive? She didn't know. February brought a letter. It arrived at Cole's office, hand-delivered by someone who vanished before security could question them. Inside was a single page, handwritten in shaky letters. Asterisk Maya, asterisk. Asterisk, your mama told me about you before she died. Told me to find you if anything happened. Told me to give you this message. Asterisk. Asterisk, she loved you more than anything in this world. Everything she did was to keep you safe. Every choice, every sacrifice. She died knowing you'd find your father. Died hoping he'd do right by you. Asterisk. Asterisk, she wanted me to tell you. Forgive her for the secrets. Forgive her for the running. She did what she thought was best. Asterisk. Asterisk, and she wanted you to know. The bracelet opened something. She hid something for you, years ago, in case you ever needed it. Safety deposit box at First Chicago Bank, Loop Branch. Box 1247. The charm is the key. Asterisk. Asterisk, don't let the past define you. Be better than all of us. Asterisk. Asterisk, a friend. Asterisk. Maya read the letter 3 times before showing it to Cole. He read it once, his expression unreadable. "Could be a trap," he said finally. "Could be real. We'll check it out. Carefully." They went to the bank the next day, surrounded by security that made the other customers nervous. The safety deposit box was real. The charm fit. Inside was a leather journal, worn from age, and a stack of photographs. Maya opened the journal with shaking hands. Her mother's handwriting filled the pages. Dates going back 18 years. A diary of sorts, but not daily entries. Just moments. Important things she wanted to remember. Wanted Maya to know someday. The first entry was dated 2 weeks after Elena had disappeared from Cole's life. Asterisk, I'm pregnant. I haven't told him. Can't tell him. Shaw's people are watching everyone he loves. They know about us. They know about the baby. If I stay, we're both dead. So I'm running. God forgive me. I'm running. Asterisk. Maya read through tears. Watched her mother's fear pour out on paper. The guilt of leaving Cole. The terror of being found. The desperate hope that disappearing would keep her baby safe. Later entries tracked their moves. Different cities. Different names. Always running. Even after Shaw died, Elena couldn't stop running. Couldn't trust the threat was gone. Had become so used to hiding that peace felt like a trap. Asterisk, Maya is 7 today. I made her a cake with ingredients I can barely afford. She deserves so much more. She deserves her father. But I can't risk it. Can't risk Antonio finding us. Can't risk Cole's world swallowing her the way it almost swallowed me. Asterisk. Asterisk, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm keeping her from safety, not danger? But I can't take that chance. Can't gamble with her life. So we keep moving. Keep surviving. And I pray that someday she'll understand. Asterisk. The last entry was dated 3 days before Elena died. Asterisk, I'm sick. Really sick this time. The cough won't stop. Can't afford the doctor. Can't afford the medicine even if I knew what I needed. I'm dying. I know that now. Asterisk. Asterisk, Maya thinks I'll get better. I let her believe it. But I need to prepare. Need to make sure she's safe when I'm gone. Asterisk. Asterisk, Cole. I have to send her to Cole. It's been 18 years. Shaw is long dead. Antonio, I don't know. But Cole will protect her. I know that in my bones. He loved me once. He'll love her. He has to. Asterisk. Asterisk the bracelet will prove who she is. Will make him believe. And if I'm wrong, if this is a mistake, forgive me, Maya. Forgive me for all of it. Asterisk. Asterisk, I love you more than life. More than fear. More than all the years we spent running. Asterisk. Asterisk, be brave, baby girl. Be braver than I was. Asterisk. Maya closed the journal carefully, her hand shaking. Cole sat beside her, reading over her shoulder, and she felt his arm come around her shoulders. Solid, steady, the anchor her mother had chosen for her in the end. She did the best she could, Cole said quietly. With what she knew, with what she had, that's all any parent can do. She was wrong about so much, but right about the important things. She kept you alive, got you to me. That's what matters. Maya looked at the photograph spread between them, pictures of her as a baby, as a toddler, as a child growing up in apartments and motel rooms and shelters. Her mother young and beautiful and exhausted in every photo, loving her daughter through poverty and fear. And one photograph that didn't fit with the others. Older. One. Showing Elena at 20, laughing, in Cole's arms. Both of them young and whole and full of hope that life hadn't beaten out of them yet. Her mother had kept it. Through everything, through all the running, she'd kept this one picture of the man she'd loved and left. Maya handed it to Cole. He stared at it for a long moment, and she saw him swallow hard. Saw the grief crash over him fresh, like the loss was brand new. I would have taken care of you both, he whispered. If she'd just told me. If she'd just trusted me. She did. In the end. That's why I'm here. Cole pulled Maya closer, and they sat in the bank vault surrounded by security and secrets, holding the pieces of Elena Reyes' broken life in their hands. The choices she'd made, the fears that drove her, the love that had carried her through it all. Are you okay? Cole asked. Maya thought about it. Really thought about it. Was she okay? She'd lost her mother, gained a father, inherited a criminal empire she never wanted, became a target for people she'd never met, learned to shoot, to fight, to survive in a world built on violence and fear. But she was warm, Federation safe, protected, learning, growing, becoming something her mother had never imagined, not despite the danger, but because of it. I don't know, Maya said honestly, but I'm here, and I'm choosing to stay. That has to count for something. It counts for everything. They left the bank with the journal and photographs, Cole's security forming a wall around them as they walked to the car. Chicago moved past them, people living normal lives, unaware of the girl who'd been homeless and afraid just months ago now riding in a convoy that screamed power and danger. Maya looked out at the city and saw it differently now, not as a place of threats and cold and hunger, but as home, complicated home, dangerous home. But hers. What happens now? She asked as they drove back to the penthouse. Now you keep learning, keep growing, keep becoming whoever you're meant to be. Cole glanced at her. And I keep protecting you. Keep being your father, however imperfectly. Keep trying to give you what Elena wanted. Safety, choices, a future. What if Antonio comes back? Then we deal with it. Together. What if I want more than just survival? What if I want a life? Cole smiled. Then we figure out what that looks like. Within reason. Within safety. But we figure it out. Maya nodded. The future stretched before her, uncertain and dangerous and full of possibility. Her mother had spent her life running from it. Cole had spent his building it. And Maya was caught somewhere between, trying to honor both, trying to become something neither of them had imagined. She thought about her mother's last words in the journal. Asterisk, be brave, baby girl. Be braver than I was. Asterisk. Maybe bravery wasn't running. Maybe it wasn't fighting either. Maybe it was just showing up. Day after day. Making choices. Learning. Growing. Staying even when leaving seemed easier. The penthouse appeared above them, rising into gray Chicago sky. Home. Prison. Kingdom. All of it at once. Maya would learn to navigate it. Learn when to bend and when to break. Learn to be Cole Brennan's daughter without losing Elena Reyes' girl. It wouldn't be easy, but nothing worth having ever was. They rode the elevator up in comfortable silence. When the doors opened, Maya stepped into the penthouse and felt something shift inside her. Not quite peace, but close. The kind of quiet that comes after storms, when you're still standing and the world is still turning and somehow, impossibly, you survived. "Thank you," Maya said, turning to Cole. "For everything. For keeping your promise to her. For being my father. For trying." Cole's expression was soft. Proud. "Thank you for letting me. For choosing this. For giving an old criminal a chance to be something better." "Are you better?" "When I'm with you, I am." Maya hugged him, still awkward at it, still learning, but genuine. And Cole held her like she might disappear if he let go. Outside, snow fell over Chicago. The city glittered and breathed and carried on, indifferent to the girl who'd learned to survive it. Inside, Maya made coffee and sat by the window and thought about her mother, about choices and sacrifice and love that looked like abandonment until you understood the why behind it. She wouldn't run like Elena had, but she wouldn't become Cole either. She'd be something new, something neither of them had been. Maya Brennan, Maya Reyes, both and neither, just herself, finally, and that felt like freedom, the kind you earned, the kind you kept, the kind that came after the storm, in the quiet of still being alive.